there's been probably many times in your life, right? There's been many times in your life where you had people come up to you and say, trust me. But when it comes to relationships, it's a little bit different. When it comes to connecting and starting this journey of dating, trust becomes something that can be difficult. In trust, I'm telling you, when it comes to relationships, trust is something you can't get past. It's something that you can't not talk about. It's something that when you get into a marriage, especially, it has to be built. It's a pillar in relationships. Trust is a big deal. And when you look at the story I just read you, some are like, why did you just read this story, this Christmas story? But if you read that story, this couple, this relationship, their soon-to-be marriage had to be built on trust. Trusting each other, but also trusting God. They had, in the spiritual, they had to trust the dreams. They had to trust the angels that came and visited. But I'm telling you, in the natural, there were some things they had to trust. Joseph had to trust the fact that when Mary came and was like, hey, I'm pregnant. He's like, okay, Jesus, I'm going to believe like this is, God, not Jesus, God, I'm going to believe that, and he had to go 9 months of trusting her and trusting God. And Mary, she had to, when she was going to Joseph, she had to trust that his response wouldn't be to dishonor her. She had to trust that this relationship, if this is truly from God, it was going to work out. So there was a lot of trust that had to take place in this relationship. And you guys all know the stories that they continue on and Jesus is born and it's a crazy story. But I'm telling you, it's all surrounded around trust. Good? It's all surrounded around trust. And so when we're talking about what is love, we talked about what is love, it's service. But if we want to talk about what is love, love is trust. Love is trusting the person you're with. Love is trusting the person that you're dating. Love is trusting the person that you're going to be married to. You have to have trust. If you don't have trust, it's going to get really difficult. And the thing is that in the time, in the country, in the season, and culture and society that we're in, trust is something that is harder and harder to come by. And a lot of us here have guards up and walls up. And when it comes to trust, it can be something that we are very scared of. But if you want your relationship to be fruitful, if you want your marriage to be successful, you have to have trust between those people, between the two of you. And so I want to talk about how do we trust? How do we, listen, because this is the part where I want to talk about, is that I want to talk to you in a teaching manner. I want to talk to you about how do we give trust, so give someone trust, but then also how do we receive trust? How do we make it sure that people trust us? And it's a two-part to this dating relationship. You got to be willing to trust that person, but also you need to do things. I'm telling you, you need to do things in your life while you're dating, while you're in this relationship, to make sure that they can trust you. And so I want to talk about that. So I want to just give you a couple things, hopefully to help you. And so I want to start, like I said, in more of a teaching manner. So I would encourage you to take notes. Is that I want to start by talking about how do we give trust? How do we give trust to people? How do we give trust to that person that we're dating? How do we give trust to that person that we're engaged to? How do we give trust to our spouse when we are married to them? And so let me begin. If you're taking notes, the first thing is this, is that we need to trust the present person, not our past hurt. Look at what Isaiah 43:18 says. It says, forget the former things and don't dwell on the past. What happened in the past, what happened to you, the hurt, the pain, the things that you went through, you can't dwell on that any longer. You can't focus on that any longer. If this is going to work, you got to make sure that this past doesn't get in the way of this. And what can end up happening, listen, what can end up happening is that when it comes to trust and trusting someone, Many times, it has nothing to do with the person that's in front of you, but everything to do with your past hurt that you went through. And so what ends up happening is that we start to talk to somebody, but then the things that happened to us in the past start to creep in, and we start to remember how this last person hurt us so bad, and we start to remember the things that maybe our dad or our mom did, and it starts to seep into this relationship here, and we say, you don't understand, I can't trust the person right here because of what they did, and what happens if they start to act like this person, and we get into this huge issue because of the past. Instead of looking in front of us, we look behind. And because we look behind, it does not allow us to fully be engaged with who is right there. And it becomes something that's not fair to the person right here. Because we disqualify them, we don't trust them, and they didn't do anything to deserve that. And if you want this to work in front of you, you're going to have to learn to let that go, let that past go, let that pain go, let that hurt go, so you can start to trust the person right here, right now. And if this person, listen to me, if this person has done nothing for you to not trust them, you must be willing to trust them.
So good.
If they haven't done anything, then you should have no reason to do that. And I will give you permission, and give yourself permission, that if they do something to break your trust, then yes, then you might have an issue. But do not allow that past and hurt and pain and what they did or the way they acted to impact this. What a shame it would be. Listen, what a shame it would be if you would miss out on what God has brought you in front of you because you never dealt with what was behind you. What a shame it would be if the blessing that He's trying to give you, you would miss because you were so consumed about the hurt that happened back there. We need to be willing to trust right here, this person right now. Day by day, I trust this person right now. You don't have to think about the future. And just right now, I trust them. You need to trust the present. Don't focus on the past. Let's go to the second thing. Second thing, if you're taking notes, how do you trust? How do you give trust? So you don't focus on your past. You give trust day by day to that person until they maybe allow you to question it. Second thing is this, is that you need to trust the process, not your impassioned feelings. Trust the process, not your impassioned feelings. Look at what the Bible says. It says, above all things, in Proverbs 4:23, it says, above all things, all else, guard your heart. For everything you do flows from it. Guard your heart. I want you to know when you are pursuing a relationship, when you're getting into this dating and going on dates and connecting with someone, I would encourage you to guard your heart. To not give yourself completely away, not to give your emotions completely away, not to say, you know what, I trust you completely, even though you don't know a lot about them. You need to guard yourself. But the thing is that the text says to guard your heart, not to withhold it. So there has to get to a point where you start to open up a little bit, you start to trust a little more, you start to allow yourself to have feelings for that person. But many times what we do is that we just withhold it all the way to the point, and we wonder why we can't get close to somebody. I'm telling you, trust is a process. Trust is a process where every time you meet with them, every time you connect with them, every time you grow with them, it allows you to trust them more. But what can happen is that our relationship starts to be so focused around our feelings and our emotions when it should be surrounded around the education we have of that person. You missed it. We can get so focused on our emotions that we don't learn about that person. And if you get so focused on the emotions, what can end up happening is that you do not know who that person is. And the only way that you will be able to trust somebody is if you know who they are. So good. And so I would encourage you, allow yourself to go through the process of getting to know someone. Not to just be going through emotions and not to be all about the puppy love and the attraction and all these different things, but just take some time to truly educate yourself on that person. To get to know them. Ask them questions about their passions. Ask their questions about their future. Ask their questions about their past. Ask questions about their life. Ask questions about their faith. When you start to ask these questions, you start to educate yourself, then that will allow you to trust them. You should be going on a process of learning and growing and educating yourself. I love, there's one of my mentors always used to tell me, when it comes to relationships, that when you are with somebody, you should do everything you can to get a high school degree with them. And then after you get a high school degree, then you go to college. Then after you go to college, you get a master's. After you get a master's, you get a doctorate. And you just keep learning and growing and educating yourself on that person. You never stop. And some of us, we just get led so much about our emotions that we don't get to know them. And then we actually marry somebody. And when we're married to them, we look at them and we don't even know who they are. Let me encourage you to do everything you can to go through the process, to guard your heart, but then slowly, after you get to know them, to open it up to them and see how you will be able to trust each other through that. Third thing, and that is this: how do we give trust? And that is that we must trust the peace, not what we see. We need to trust the peace, not just everything that's in front of us. When it comes to relationships, you guys all probably know this. Is just, I'm saying this to some, you guys probably all know this, but when it comes to relationships, they have their ups, they have their downs. Relationships and getting to know somebody and dating somebody, and even in marriage, when you talk to married couples, it's not all roses, it's not all Hershey kisses. But the thing is that through all of that, if you still in the relationship have a sense of peace, you should be okay to keep trusting that person. And listen, when it comes to peace comes from God. So when it comes to dating somebody, I would really encourage you to ask God what they think about it, what He thinks about it, and really process and say, Lord, is this who you want for my life? Is this who I should be dating? Is this who I should be who I should be going through this process with? And ask Him, and then if He gives you that peace, okay, then if He gives you that peace, then maybe you should be able to trust that person. And then also you could talk to somebody or people you trust that are friends or mentors, and then once they speak into it and say, hey, this is something that you could pursue and you could do, and then once you get that confirmation, then you have a little peace in that, then that should allow you to trust. And so you have peace. Even though everything on the outside might not look the best at times, there's still this inner peace that's given by God and people that are helping you process this. And if there's a peace that you have, trust the peace and allow that peace to trust that person. And if you get to a place where you don't have that peace, you don't have that gut check, or if maybe something happens, then maybe that might be another sign to you that, okay, might be time to figure something out. Or maybe this isn't the one. But we need to trust the peace. The peace allows us to trust person that we're talking with. And so you have those three ways that we give trust. Now let's quickly just talk about how do we receive it? How do we position ourselves in a place that we can be trusted? So these I'm going to just go a little quicker on, and I'm going to end. And so if you're taking notes, the first one is this: how do we get others to trust us? The first one is this, is that we need to tell the truth. Tell the truth about who you are. See, many times what we do is we try to act like someone we're not to impress the person we're with, or maybe we withhold the truth so that we can keep that person around. But what ends up happening is that person ends up not dating you, but dating a different version of you. And so I want to help you so that doesn't happen, because if that happens, then you eventually will get to the place where that person will notice that who you say you are is not who you really are. But how about we just start by saying, hey, this is who I am. This is what I've done. This is what I believe. This is the way that I live. If you love it, great. If you don't, then maybe I'm not the one for you. See, people trust the truth. If you want to break trust, make up stories, be a different version of yourself, and you will have issues trying to find that person. Tell the truth. The second thing is that you need to, how do you get other people to demonstrate you? Or excuse me, how do you get other people to trust you? And that is this. The second one is to demonstrate our loyalty. We need to demonstrate, we need to show our loyalty to the person that we're talking, the person that we're dating, the person that we're thinking of moving forward in a future with. We need to demonstrate our loyalty. And let me just give you a couple of things of what loyalty looks like so you understand how you can demonstrate that. Loyalty looks like you are talking to just them and nobody else. Oh, shoot. Where you're talking to just them, that you're communicating, hey, I just want to be with you. I'm not snapping any other person. I'm not seeing any other person. I'm not trying to hide another person that I'm talking with, but no, I'm just focusing on you. I just want your attention, and I'm giving all my attention to you. We need to demonstrate our loyalty to just that one person. If we want that person to trust us, we need to show that, hey, you are all that I want, right here and right now. And also, we need to be concerned about their jealousy and their insecurities. If they're concerned about maybe one of our friends that's of the opposite sex, or maybe they have some insecurities, we need to be able to hear those out and say, hey, I just want you to know, even though you're struggling with that, I'm still about you. I still care about you. Loyalty. Loyalty looks like not hiding something from them, not hiding our struggles, not hiding the things that we're dealing with, not hiding our past, not hiding things. People want to know that you're telling the truth and there's nothing hidden. If something comes up that's hidden, it will break trust in your relationship. Loyalty looks like you talk good about them to others. That you talk good about them to others. And if you have an issue with them, you talk to them. That's loyalty. But if you're talking about all the issues that you have with that person, with other people, and if they find that out, that's going to break trust. Loyalty looks like you have their back above other people's back. That you're saying, hey, I have your back. I'm here for you. Even though this is what they say, or even though they're going through this, I'm telling you, I have your back. The person that you're talking to, the person that you're married to wants to know, especially in a group setting, that you have their back, that you are with them, and that you support them. I don't know about you, but I have an issue. This is just me. This is off the cuff. I have an issue with couples that make fun of each other and say hurtful things in a public setting. You need to be honoring and loving and encouraging the person you're with when you're in a public setting. Loyalty. People trust those who show loyalty, not just say they're loyal. The last thing, and then I'm going to close, is how do we receive trust? How do we make that other people trust us? And that is this last thing, is that we must over-communicate. We need to over-communicate. You need to communicate where you're at. You need to communicate, hey, this is where I'm at in this relationship. Hey, this is how I'm feeling. Hey, this is kind of what I'm struggling with in this relationship. I just want you to know exactly where I'm at. You need to communicate what you're thinking. When it comes to a dating relationship, when it comes to marriage, don't make the other person read your mind. If you want them to trust you, you have to be willing to go to them with the issues you have and the problems you're dealing with. And that shows them that they can trust you, that you will not keep something from them. Communicate what you're thinking. Communicate small details. If you put intentional time into explaining things in small details, where you're going, what you're doing, people have a hard time trusting vague. And so if you want to earn people's trust, make sure you're willing to talk about the small details. Those small details matter so much to the person that you're with, and it brings confidence to them. And the last one is communicate how you're feeling in the relationship. Whether you're dating or seeing somebody, or if your boyfriend, girlfriend, communicate, hey, this is where I'm at, this is how I'm feeling. I'm not really sure if I'm ready to move forward, or communicate all of that. Communicate that, and that helps people trust exactly where you are. And so, as I close, I know it was a little more of a teaching. I hope you took some notes, and my goal is that for you to talk about this and to maybe question it. And there's a lot of people that are experts, but my goal is to just help you and give you something that can really help you develop in your relationships and your desire to grow into a relationship. And so the last thing I want to end with is that some of you are, okay, what happens if trust is broken? Okay, I got it, Taylor. I need to trust again. I need to, I can't look at my past, and I need to trust the person here. I need to go through the process, and I understand all this, but what happens if my trust is broken? What happens if I'm dating somebody, or if I'm moving forward, I'm trying to build this relationship, or maybe even in marriage? What happens if my trust is broken, or the trust is broken? And I want to just give you one simple, little quicker answer in regards to dating, and that is that if trust is broken, you have to just come to terms and process if that person is willing, and if you are willing to keep moving forward after that trust is broken. Because listen, you are not in a covenant yet, you're just in a relationship. And so you need to figure out when that trust is broken if they are the person that you can trust again. But the thing is, what happens if trust is broken in a marriage? What happens if you're in a covenant with somebody and your trust is broken? And I want you to know, if you talk to any married couple right now, there will be situations and times where trust will be broken. We can't get past it. There'll be issues, there'll be things that are said or not said, or there'll be problems you're going to have to go through. And so how or what should you do when trust is broken? And I want to bring us to who I believe is the greatest person in regards to how do we act when trust is broken, and that is through our Savior, Jesus, and through the one that we follow, and that is the Lord. See, if we look at the text in Lamentations 3:22 through 23, it says this. It says, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. See, when we follow the Lord, when we have a relationship with him, and when we believe in Jesus, we need to also be reminded that there will be times, and there are times every day and every week, that we break his trust. That we do things that break his heart, that he entrusts us to do, that he says, hey, this is the way I designed you to live. This is the way that I want you. And what ends up happening is that we break that. We choose to live a different way. We choose to go behind his back. We do all these different things. And what ends up happening is that he continues to keep trusting us. He continues to keep forgiving us. He continues to look at us and say, hey, I know you messed up, but it's okay. I'm going to trust you again. I'm going to believe that you're going to make the right decision today. I'm going to trust that you're going to do the right thing today. Yeah, it's okay. You messed up. It's all right, but I'll trust you. Isn't it crazy how we say we follow Jesus, but when it comes to trust, the moment one person breaks our trust or does one thing to break our trust, we're like, nope. Nah, I'm done with them. Wait, but we follow Jesus. And we break his trust every day. And he still says, hey, I still trust you. I don't want to get too into theology, because I know some of you want to get into theology because some of you are like, oh, is God all-knowing or all this stuff? But let me just say something. God, in knowing that there could be a possibility, or there was going to be a possibility based on your theology, he still put Adam and Eve in the garden and that tree there. Isn't that interesting? Knowing, if you believe that he's all-knowing or whatever, like I said, I don't want to get into a debate. We're all young adults here. You guys can debate all you want. Knowing, or maybe the possibility that they could eat from that tree, he still trusted them. And what ended up happening after? Broke the trust. He trusted again. Aren't you glad that he trusted again? Because after trusting again, we can say that our religion and our faith that he entrusted us with is one of the greatest faiths in this world. That all came through him trusting again. Trusting us. Choosing to love. What is love? It's to trust. Is trust a risk? Yes, it is. Every single time you trust somebody, it is a risk. But I'm telling you, it is a risk you need to be willing to take. It's a risk that he took for us. It's something we need to give, and it's something that we need to receive. It's something that we need to take a little, and that we need to give a little. Will you be a person that demonstrates love by trusting? Or will you just have a guard up and say, I don't need nobody? The choice comes to you. And it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be broken, but we need to choose to continue to do